morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys might be connecting from. Thank you again to GSDC for having me here today and for all of you joining. As she said, I'm Danielle McConnell and I'm the Marketing Director at Bertway. And I'm really excited to take you on this journey to explore the world of the metaverse. So today we'll kind of discover the immersive digital realm that has evolved from a concept to a living, breathing reality that's really influencing every aspect of our lives. So let's jump in. Next slide, please. Good. So a brief history of the metaverse. I think it's good to take a step back in time to understand the evolution of the metaverse itself. So there's early speculations from novels like Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson, and that was in 1992. And since then, there's been groundbreaking innovations in virtual AR technologies, and the metaverse has come a really long way in a relatively short amount of time. It still has more developing to be done, but from 1992 to today, there's been a lot of advancements. There's also pioneering platforms like Second Life and even the development of Oculus Rift that have kind of shaped the path of where we've gotten to today. And then with these improved hardware, software, and key connectivity, we now find ourselves in a digital landscape with lots more possibilities. I think here it's important to touch on the evolution of the internet as well. Without getting too technological, the metaverse is being developed into what we know as Web 3.0. So the technological progress from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0 is really paving the way to make those developments that we need to form all of these metaverse projects. The fundamental elements of Web 3.0 can seamlessly enhance usability, communication and interoperability. So for those that are maybe more interested in reading about this topic, I highly recommend getting yourself a copy. Actually, right here, I don't know if you can see it. Get a copy of Matthew Ball's book. It's called The Metaverse and How It Will Revolutionize Everything. It's a very straightforward explainer of what the metaverse is, what it isn't, what it can be. It takes really complex concepts and makes them understandable. And it doesn't only paint the future, but it also takes a deep dive into the history of the internet, as I touched on there before, developments that have been made, and it also addresses issues that still need to be resolved in order to completely come to this metaverse concept. We're just at the beginning of this journey. There's still a long way to go in building a metaverse that a lot of us are envisioning it to be, but we are well on our way. Before I go to the next slide, I wanted to launch a poll here and just ask how many of you have already had an experience in the metaverse? And I know some people say sometimes, I'm not sure. See, I'm not sure is totally an acceptable answer. So yes, no, or I'm not sure. Yes, I can see someone asked the book. It is called The Metaverse and How It Will Revolutionize Everything by Matthew Ball. It's really good. Highly recommend it.
Danielle, we have launched a poll, the first poll.
Yep. Seeing that coming in there, very good. So while those answers come in, I'll go ahead onto the next slide. So obviously I want to tell you guys about everything that the metaverse is and examples, but I think somewhere a good place to start sometimes is to talk about what it's not and cover a little bit of the misconceptions that might cloud some of our understanding. So diving right in here, the first one I have is that the metaverse is not VR. Do a Google search, put metaverse in, go to images, and I can guarantee 90% or more of those images will have some form of a VR headset, goggles, whatever you want to call it, on there. I think VR is a crucial component that the let's see. The metaverse encompasses various technologies like augmented reality, mixed reality, and other immersive platforms. Matthew Ball, the author that I mentioned before, he also believes that VR will be a secondary device in the metaverse. and I agree with him when he says that the metaverse will be browser-based and will present itself through devices that we already are using right now, like smartphones, game consoles, PCs. So don't think just if any sort of metaverse experience, you don't need to have VR headset to get into that. Keep going. I think we lost the PowerPoint again, but the next thing that metaverse is not, it's not NFTs. The metaverse is often associated with non-fungible tokens due to their recent or not so recent popularity. But while NFTs have a place in the metaverse, they're just one part of a much broader ecosystem. The next one was that the metaverse is not a game. So the metaverse is not solely about gaming. While gaming has been a significant driver of metaverse growth, the concept extends well beyond gaming applications. Gamification experiences in the metaverse, yes, that will be key, and we'll get into more of that later. The metaverse is not meta. Maybe nowadays that there's been all the layoffs and changes and more focus on different technologies, the term meta at one point became so synonymous with the metaverse, largely due to the rebranding of Facebook to Meta. However, the metaverse is a broader concept than any single company's branding, just to keep that in mind. So maybe from 2020, 2021, that was Facebook rebranding to Meta. If this happens again, there's not one company that's going to encompass what the metaverse is. The metaverse is not a place. It's not a singular location or a physical space. It's a vast digital landscape that's going to interconnect many different virtual environments. The metaverse is not a trend. Of course, I wouldn't be here today talking to you about the metaverse if I thought it was a trend or a buzzword. It truly represents a fundamental shift in how we interact with digital technology and holds the potential to shape our future. And last but not least, the metaverse is not a replacement to the internet. So the metaverse isn't here to replace the internet. Rather, it's going to be an extension of our digital experiences on the internet. So it's going to be offering new ways to connect, collaborate, and engage with others. So yeah, I think by kind of going over these misconceptions first, we can better appreciate the scope and possibilities of the metaverse and its expansive transformative landscape that's reshaping industries and connecting people. So just going back to the poll real quick, right? So about 18% of you have had a metaverse experience. That's great. 69% have not, and 13% are not sure. Those are great results. So hopefully I'm here to enlighten you a bit today and show you some of more of the possibilities and encourage you to give it a try. So yeah, we can move on to the next slide. Good. For those of you, we're going to launch another poll real quick here. And this one, for those of you that said that you have had a metaverse experience, curious, was your experience social or corporate or enterprise based? Okay, so we'll get those in. So we've got here the evolution of the metaverse. As I mentioned before, the evolution of the metaverse stems from maybe an evolution of the internet. So from Web 2 to Web 3. And it's characterized, Web 2, so where we were before, was characterized by user-generated content and social networking, which laid the foundation for collaborative platforms like social media, blogs, wikis, enabling people to connect, share, and participate online. Maybe it was a little bit more, you browsed to interact in these contents. But with the advent of Web 3.0, the internet has entered a new era of interconnectedness and decentralization. So Web 3.0 leverages cutting-edge technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things to create more smooth, seamless, and autonomous digital experiences. So this evolution enables decentralized applications, smart contracts, a greater data ownership for users, fostering a little bit more trust, security, and transparency the people are asking for. So that the internet has kind of become this sophisticated ecosystem that's empowering more individuals rather than centralized companies. And it's kind of redefining the way that we're going to engage and interact online. One thing I wanted to I'm actually going to copy and paste a definition. Let me see where I have that here. One last reference to Michael Ball. I said Michael again, Matthew Ball. Is his definition of what the metaverse is or going to be. And let me just paste that into the chat there and we can read it together. It is packed full of words, and if you read his book, you will understand every single word afterwards, but I think it's something to keep in mind as I go through the presentation, and you'll see a bit of a pattern there. So he says that it is a massively scaled and interoperable network of real-time rendered 3D virtual worlds that can be experienced synchronously and persistently by an effectively unlimited number of users with an individual sense of presence and with continuity of data such as identity, history, entitlements, objects, communications, and payments. So there's a lot there, and we'll kind of see how that unfolds as we go through the discussion today. But basically the metaverse has really evolved from virtual technologies into dynamic and interconnected digital realm. So when he talks about synchrony and persistence, there's a lot of things that still need to be developed to make them happen across the board. But in general, the is paving the way for immersive experiences, virtual economies, and limitless possibilities for users. It has the potential to really revolutionize social interactions, transform industries, enhance educational experiences, and really revolutionize enterprise solutions. So yeah, let me check the poll real quick there. That's about half and half. More of you with social metaverse experience rather than corporate. That's good, very good. Okay, so moving to the next slide, we actually are going to jump right into the social metaverse. So unlike the traditional internet, the social metaverse offers a shared digital space where users can socialize, work, shop, play within multiple virtual worlds. It represents this evolution that we keep saying, but of online interaction, enabling users not just to browse like I talked about before, but to fully immerse themselves in these virtual environments as individually controlled avatars. So each person is represented by a speaking and moving avatar. This results in it sets the metaverse to revolutionize social interactions. So you're not just an icon browsing anymore with whatever profile picture you have on. You have an actual face on an avatar, and whether that be something that completely resembles you or something that is fun, that you think it doesn't look like you physically, but you think it represents you. So these experiences are becoming kind of all-encompassing within our social ecosystem. And by transcending existing boundaries and disrupting current social media platforms, we're kind of looking to provide synchronous and persistent experiences. So looking ahead, a piece of data that was given by Gartner, it's estimated that by 2026, so 3 years from now, there's not much time, more than 2 billion people will spend at least an hour daily engaging in metaverse social interactions. That's a lot of people, and there's not much time. They're not talking about 20 years from now. They're talking about 3 years from now. So yeah, we can imagine just an example, Facebook. So you instead of being on Facebook and connecting on chat or just seeing people's status updates, you come into a platform or into a room with an avatar and you interact with it there. So if you want to go to the next slide. Good. So to keep with that comparison with Facebook, or Meta as it's called now, Meta did launch a social metaverse called Horizon Worlds. And other examples include Roblox, Decentraland, and the Sandbox, for example. This is an opening space, not just for individual use, but brands are also hosting virtual experiences and showcases and trying to enhance engagement and build a global audience. So going to the next slide. To add a bit of realistic humor here, I would say this cartoon still stands true today. I think it's from 2021 is when I first found it, but it's a good example of maybe brands, companies coming into these sometimes social platforms, social metaverse platforms. So as brand teams contemplate kind of their entrance into the metaverse, they should really be cautious of falling into marketing myopia. So it's common for marketers to perceive that their consumers are eagerly anticipating the opportunity to kind of interact with their brand, but the perception may not always align with reality. There's a risk of overestimating how much people actually think about brands to desire to engage with them when viewed from within the confines of their own marketing team. But regardless of whether a virtual world is being constructed from scratch or a brand experience is being integrated into an existing platform, it's crucial to maintain a realistic perspective on the actual world of the brand and people's lives. So brands must understand that their presence should really align with the needs and interests of their target audience, meeting people where they are, both in terms of interests and preferred platforms. So, I mean, if you know your audience and you know a certain platform has mostly 18 to 25-year-olds and your typical audience is 30 and up or 40 and up, maybe your metaverse brand experience doesn't need to be in that particular platform. So it's just an example. We'll get more into metaverse brand experiences and enterprise metaverse later on, but as we're speaking about social, you do have these social areas in the metaverse where you can play, interact with other users. There's communities, sometimes there's concerts, there's lots of things going on the social realm, and brands trying to coincide with that is obviously a fundamental part of this growing, but at the same time, knowing where is your brand going to see the most success is also key. So on to the next slide. I'm going to shift gears a bit and take a look at the industrial metaverse. So collaborative design and prototyping in virtual environments are completely revolutionizing manufacturing processes. And this is leading to more efficient supply chain management, logistics, and a lot of times happening at lower risks. So in addition to realistic training simulations are empowering industries like aviation, healthcare, surgeons, doctors, heavy machinery, and it's giving their employees the comprehensive skill development that they need to really back up their workforce training. So if you think about a lot of these companies that I just mentioned, or any companies in general in the industrial industry, a lot of their work and training are with heavy machinery, like I said before, or they're in high risk situations. In general, we could say maybe that it could be a potentially dangerous situation, especially for people that don't yet have the experience or have never, maybe they're just starting a new job and training coming out of the university, or they're starting their internship. They're not entirely familiar as a veteran of the sector. So with this immersive technology, new trainees or employees are able to first do their training in a metaverse platform or in any sort of immersive technology. So they're already able to get to know their surrounding, learn what to do, and most importantly, learn what not to do in order to remain safe in their working environment. Next slide. So just to touch a bit on use cases, there's tons. I'm sure you've seen some maybe on the news already. Not all of them are dangerous, but like VE Chain, for example, they have created with blockchain and metaverse technology a virtual representation of their entire supply chain from start to finish. So their clients can see what's happening, their partners, their employees. This is across the board where people have this immersive view of what they're working on and how visually how it is for the entire process. There's even for research and development, Ford, the car company, they're using these technologies to design vehicles and then do safety testing on them, which is huge. And then obviously for manufacturing optimization. And another maybe more simple way to explain another use case, we've just got general risk training exercises. Even myself, like I know every year my company, by law, they have to send me to do a certificate that I'm a marketing director. I sit at my desk all day. So I have to know like proper position of my seat, proper screens, how often I should be getting up, all of that stuff. We do that every year. It's usually online. You have to watch a video, then you have to answer the questions, and it's so boring. And this happens in warehouses as well. So I've worked with a client that said, hey, we want to get this certificate off of just 2D internet and move it into the metaverse. So what we did was we created a digital twin of their warehouse and programmed an exercise for their employees to come in and do their exercises in the metaverse. So they came in as an avatar. They had a virtual assistant that explained to them the exercise. There was a video at the very beginning. It was the mandatory video by law. It has to be shown and kind of explains a little bit what they're going to do. Once the video is over, everybody's taken into the warehouse. Again, the virtual assistant tells them, all right, we're going to start this. So once you come into the warehouse, you would notice there's a puddle of water on the floor, or a crane that's been left too low, or a worker that's taken off his helmet. So all of the workers then had to go throughout the entire massive warehouse and click on what they saw as high risk factors. So first they had to identify what was high risk, click on it, answer the question. So if there's water on the floor, what do you need to do? And they had a list of steps. Maybe they had to put the steps in order or choose the correct answer. If a crane's too low, what do you have to do? So they had a list of exercises to go through. And this was a timed exercise. So if they didn't find all of the high risk objects, they didn't get as many points. And then at the end, it was cut off and each user was told how they did, how many points they got. And then the leadership team was given that information. And from there, they were either granted their certificate or they had to do the course over again. So just an example, and that's taking them out of a high risk. They don't have to physically see the risk itself. It was done in the metaverse safely, and they were able to evaluate best case scenario. So yeah, going to the next slide. We're going to move on to the educational metaverse. Slide changes there. I'll go ahead and start. You'll see the slide here in a second, I'm sure. So as you all can imagine, education has seen a massive paradigm shift, there we go, within the metaverse. So interactive and immersive learning experience that can transport students to virtual field trips or historical environments. And with distance learning becoming increasingly important and popular, the metaverse really breaks those barriers and provides access to education regardless of location. So virtual classrooms really facilitate language learning and cultural exchange, and they're truly enriching the educational experience for students worldwide. To go to the next slide. Well, while we're waiting, actually in the photo that you can see right there, it was a laboratory class, and on the screen you can see someone doing, with VR headset, they were doing chemical reactions. So they were reacting different chemicals to see what the outcome would be. But I think the educational metaverse kind of speaks for itself as far as use cases. You've got university classes, but there's workshops where you can bring people together. You can do training simulations. We've worked with a company, a university, that they've integrated the metaverse into their law school program, and they do simulations going to court. So students have to present a case. Teachers are usually the judge, and they work together, and they have to go head to head in the metaverse. So it's kind of like their real life, but maybe it's someone connecting from Singapore and another person connecting from Spain. You've got those two people in there, and you can mix and match students coming back and forth, and they still get that lifelike experience. And then from there as well, lost the PowerPoint again, but you've got not just classes and training and whatnot, but you also have the opportunity to create communities. And I've mentioned the word community again and again, but it is really important, I think, for these metaverse experiences. So imagine alumni. Usually when you finish your university, not many people stay right around the university itself, the physical campus. People start to spread out and they move across the country, they move across the globe, they go everywhere. But having a metaverse campus gives alumni a place to come back together, have meetings, have networking, and not just to interconnect between themselves, but also to stay connected to their university. And lots of networking opportunities can come out of that. So on to the next slide, we come to the enterprise metaverse. So I think tomorrow you're going to touch a little bit more on the future of work. So I'll try not to get too much into this, but I'm sure Simone is going to have a lot of really good information about this as well. So the enterprise metaverse obviously is where businesses are revolutionizing the way we work. Virtual offices and meeting spaces enable global teams, just like I said for universities, to collaborate seamlessly, enhancing this type of communication and idea sharing. And with data visualization, analytics, you can imagine they can track, they know who's come in, they know what they're doing, they know what they're clicking on. And that goes for everything else that I've said before as well. You know who's coming in and participating in certain activities or training factors. And I would say all in all, a lot of these metaverse experiences in the enterprise are boosting productivity because they're fun, they're engaging. And as I mentioned before, gamification is part of this experience. So it shouldn't be all work. You should find a way to bring fun and games. And some of the games might just be an obstacle course that has nothing to do with your company or the content. It's just for fun, but there's a prize at the end, whoever the fastest finishes are. Or maybe you have a big conference week or a couple of days of intense learning. You can have a party at the end. You can live stream live music into the screens. You can have a DJ play. Avatars can dance too. They're not just there to walk, talk, and work. So there's lots of ways to make this fun and have the rewards, just like you would do it in real life. If you have a big conference, at the end, there's always some sort of social aspect. And sometimes at the end of every day, you've got happy hour or networking hour, or you've got live music with finger foods. So you can still do that with these metaverse experiences and bring that fun aspect into it. If we go to the next slide, touch a little bit more on marketing and branding here. So this is one of the common uses within the enterprise metaverse. Bringing teams together. And some examples of the way companies are using this are for something like internal rebranding or product launches and training. So if you're doing this rebranding, eventually it's going to be out to the public. If you're doing a product launch, of course you want the public to know, but first your entire team has to know. Your entire team has to be on board. Your sales team has to know how to sell it. Your product team has to know exactly what it is. So the metaverse brings this space where you could go ahead and have this internally first before you make it a full public external campaign. So the picture that we can actually see there, and we saw it in the last slide as well, is an event from this year with MSX. They were doing some internal rebranding and value streams. So they had a 2D conference. They did not sit in that auditorium all day, but they did do a lot of presentations from the C-suite and directors team, talking about new aspects within the company. They had roundtables, as you can see in the picture there, to talk about how things were coming together and what each department was kind of working on and where they were going. And after each kind of big presentation, they would have breakout activities. So they would break up maybe into 10. There was 130 people there. So to get 130 people talking could be more challenging. But when you break people up into smaller groups, you can get more of a speak up and stand up opportunity. So a lot of times we say, when you've got these big numbers, if you're doing this traditionally on Zoom or Teams, you've got spectators. You've got the group of people speaking, they're the presenters, and you have the spectators. But when you bring this into the metaverse, you're giving each and every person that opportunity to speak up and stand up. They're participants now. They can raise their hand, they can turn on their microphone and ask a question, they can go up to the stage, they have that freedom to truly participate. And bigger groups, more challenging, but there's the opportunity to break everybody up into smaller groups, have those conversations. What did we just learn? What is it going to look like? And what are we going to do? And then from there, they went into case studies. So they had actual case studies from real clients. In the past, this is how we handle it. Now, what are we going to do? So in groups of 4, they could work together and say, okay, the correct answer, this is how we're going to change this, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, they had an escape room. So at the end of the first 2 days it was. So they combined the top 10 most important things that they had covered in the first 2 days. And those were the 10 questions in the escape room. So they were broken off into groups of 6, I believe, and they had to go through and answer the questions. And the team that was quickest to do it got an award. But it was a great way for the company to see, okay, who's are people learning from this? Do they understand what we're trying to teach them? And everybody eventually got through the escape room. So that was really good feedback. And the feedback in general after this event was amazing. And the videos that we have, people are laughing, people are having fun. Everybody felt like the knowledge retention was much higher from this than from other international events they've done online. So it's a great way to be productive, efficient, and have fun. Going on to the next slide here. So training and onboarding, I would say in the last year, this has been the most requested use of the enterprise metaverse from companies. And not just for new employees, this is also for existing employees. A lot of things that I've already said apply here as well. We've had multiple companies that have come to us that we've helped to, they give us maybe a 30 or 50-page PowerPoint presentation that they usually present on Teams. And they're like, make this a metaverse experience. So can you imagine taking an 8-hour training program from Teams and translating that into maybe a 6-hour immersive metaverse experience? And I'm not talking on VR headset. That's 6 hours is way too long. This would be either on your tablet, your computer, your phone, something accessible for everybody with their avatars to come in. And they've got they still have the same content. They're still learning everything. So they can check all their boxes as a company to make sure that they're still getting that proper training. But they've got simulations where they can participate and observe rather than maybe watching a video or talking through a PowerPoint conversation. And this is good for new employees. This is good for existing employees. Maybe you've got employees changing roles. Maybe you've got some employees changing departments. It's good to do this continuous training in here as well, which in the case of the image with McDonald's is exactly what they've done here. They have a training program for their managing directors for each physical McDonald's restaurant. So Virtual Events created a digital twin of the McDonald's restaurant, inside, outside, the digital order boards, the back of the kitchen, the drive-through, everything is there. And you could walk around that. And so the entire training there was for these managers. They had to go through, they had virtual assistants that told them, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to look for. They had interactive maps to know where they needed to go. And then they'd have to go around and click on different 3D objects in the scene to get a question to answer, a use case to discuss, any of the type of content that they were trying to get through here was done by interacting with the content itself. For example, trash on the ground. What do you need to do when there's trash on the ground? Or oil spilt in the back of the kitchen. What needs to be done if oil is spilt in the kitchen? Or a customer complaint comes in through the drive-through. You get it. So all of this kind of was placed into this immersive environment where they're not watching videos anymore, just listening to somebody talk. They were actually doing it themselves. So I talked about a virtual assistant there. Let's go on to the next slide here. And we will jump into e-commerce. So in e-commerce, obviously may be really good for them to get involved on on a social network, but also on an enterprise level. This also is a great place for them to form communities. So they can upload 3D models of their products into their own metaverse, and these products can be interactive. So let's imagine a car. Maybe you're doing a car launch. The side panel of the car can be interactive, so users can click on that and maybe see the different colors it's available in, the type of material it's made for, or maybe the trunk of the car. They can click on the trunk, it opens, and there's a description about how big it is, the dimensions, and examples of what can be fit in it. So they can interact. You can have live sales reps in the metaverse to help sell the car, or you can have bots in there that help users along. And this is good. I mentioned community, I mentioned it again, stores that have communities of users that shop there, follow them, anticipate new product launches. They could do pre-product launches in here and offer discounts to their metaverse community. So they create that hype, and they've got exclusive offers for the people that come into the metaverse, exclusive offers for people that buy from the metaverse. Maybe their avatar even gets a digital copy of whatever shoe or hat or something they bought. This is the case in the picture you can see there. This is a company called Foot District. Their metaverse app is called Outer Shelf, made by Vertway Technology. And they've just done just that. They made a digital twin of their shop in Barcelona, and they also have a digital twin of the plaza in Barcelona that the shop is in. And within the shop, they've got all sorts of sports clothing and shoes that users come in and can purchase there. They've got activities that they can go through and get discounts if they get through to the end of the activity. And they've just really created a space where their community can come together, and they do talks with famous athletes, or there's lots of different activities that they bring people in to do that with. So going on to the next slide, I can't finish this without touching on artificial intelligence. It is the new boom word as of late, and even a month or so ago, there was a very sly journalist that tried to host a funeral for the metaverse, saying that the metaverse was dead and that artificial intelligence was taking over. But I can guarantee you the metaverse is not dead, and artificial intelligence is making the metaverse even better. It's a huge component of the metaverse. It's going to make metaverse experiences so much better and enhance this. So there's quite a few times today I talked about virtual assistants or bots. So in the past, they would have been pre-programmed. Maybe you clicked on them and they gave you a list of questions that you could click on and see the answers, or maybe they were voice generated by triggers, but there was no actual interaction. A user couldn't come in and just ask a question. Whereas now, if we look at the example of the shoe store that we saw before, there can be a virtual AI assistant in there. They have to be trained a bit. They need to know the information about anything a customer might ask. But let's say I already know the store, I already know the brands, I don't want to know any of the frequently asked questions. I just come to do the activity and get my discount code. I can walk straight up to that AI assistant and say, hey, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go to do the treasure hunt to get that discount code? The AI assistant can spit that right back. They won't give you any other information except for exactly what you asked for. So it's much more personalized experience that's tailored to what the user wants. That natural language kind of interaction. And this is just the start of it. I think this is going to get so much better as time goes on. But I will say that artificial intelligence is playing a really key role in this evolution of the metaverse itself. Next question then. We are actually going to launch a poll at the start of this next slide. One last poll. So I've showed you guys social, industrial, education, and enterprise. And I'd be curious to know, like, where do you see the most potential for metaverse technologies? And we'll look at those results here in a bit. So while we wait for that, why embrace the metaverse? A lot of people ask. The answer lies in connectivity, breaking barriers, and connecting people worldwide. We're not going to stop this from happening. It's going to come regardless. And with limitless creativity, there's endless opportunities. And I think that's something really important to touch on as well. We, the users, are going to be the ones that help shape what the metaverse is going to be in the end. The more people that are experiencing it, the more people that are, thinking outside the box and generating ideas on how can we improve this and how can we change this, or what else can we integrate into this. There's so much, but we, the users, are the ones that are going to be doing this. So I think embracing it is inevitable. At one point or another, you're going to have to. But you've got all the benefits about adapting to the metaverse and how it can help maybe with your social interactions, how it can help businesses, perhaps stay ahead of competition, improve customer engagement. Even as a company, you want to improve customer engagement, but as a customer, we would like engagement to be improved as well. So across the board, everyone's kind of benefiting from this. And on the next slide, see, I'm just looking at the poll here. Where do you see, so my goodness, it is basically a tie across the board. 30% education is where a lot of people see metaverse technologies coming in. Oh, still voting. So education and social are tied. And I think that's a lot of times where it's going to start. And that's where we're seeing it start. We're seeing a lot of potential and early adapters in those sectors. Industrial, it's just going to be a big game changer, I think, as far as reducing risk factors. And enterprise, it's up and coming. It's still a lot more to be seen. And I think as remote work continues to stay, it's gonna form a lot more of a role in there as well. So coming back to the presentation here, where to start? How do you incorporate the metaverse into your personal life or your daily life? And I think at first it begins with defining your goals and objectives, kind of like starting with anything. But you need to identify where opportunities where the metaverse can add value, and tailor your approach to suit yourself or your organization's unique needs. And from there, I think it's really important to partner with experts who understand the metaverse. There are tons of metaverse agencies out there now. Traditionally, they were maybe digital marketing agencies, but nowadays there's a lot of digital marketing agencies that are now digital experience agencies, or they're completely metaverse agencies as well. They have done the deep dive for you. They have tested out a lot of different platforms. They understand what's possible. They know how to kind of match you with maybe the platform that would be best for you to get started in, or different projects that you have. So there is a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of resources out there for you to connect with people that already maybe have done the homework for you. But all in all, I encourage collaboration. I think adopting the metaverse journey, it's essential right now. And it's going to help you leverage not just yourselves, but maybe future projects that you have going on. And to the next slide. Last but not least, embrace the journey. In conclusion, as I've shown you today, it's not just a concept, it's thriving, it's living, it's a reality that is already in place. It's shaping industries and transforming how we learn, work, and connect. So embracing the journey into the future, where imagination really doesn't know any bounds. I know that sounds super cliche, but it's so true in this situation. So unlocking that power of the metaverse and shaping it together is key right now. There's a lot of potential to revolutionize a lot of different industries, and I think the more we know, the more we test, the more we propose, the better it's going to be. So yeah, thank you again for attending this.